Hi, this is Jim Feist in Las Vegas, and I'm joined by Hank Goldberg from sunny Miami, Florida. Hank, you had a great weekend. College basketball, you're killing it. College football, you're doing great. Yesterday, you did fantastic in the NFL. It has been a great run for you for the whole season.
Yeah, it's kind of gloomy here in South Florida because of the University of Miami laying an egg in Pittsburgh. Boy, they played a terrible game there. And I don't know where they stand right now. I mean, if they beat Clemson, are they still in? Alabama losing, I'm not sure if they wanted Alabama to lose to Auburn or not. But I think Alabama right now could find themselves on the sidelines when the 4-game tournament comes around, because Auburn beat them pretty convincingly, and Auburn now has to play Georgia. If Georgia beats Auburn, I guess Alabama gets back in the picture. That'll be a big game, Auburn and Georgia. That'll be a good game. But something I noticed. Mark Richt has done a great job with the University of Miami, but this is one flaw that he has in his coaching. He always wins 9 or 10 games, and always gets beat in a game he shouldn't lose. That's what happened to him at Georgia, which is one reason why they let him go. And then you have the deal at Tennessee with Greg Schiano, who was hired, and then they changed their minds after this was a case where the supporters of the program there got their way. They didn't want Schiano. And that's kind of an odd situation there, because they didn't like his background, what happened with him, because he was at Penn State when they had the mess there. And he had a terrible experience with the Tampa Bay Bucks, but he did a great job when he coached at Rutgers. And he's I don't know, it's an odd situation, and he's going to stay at Ohio State for now. And one more thing I want to get in, and that is I watched the Grey Cup last night, and Mark Trestman, my friend, my real close friend, who was voted Coach of the Year in Canada, won another Grey Cup. And he was a big underdog in that game. And Mark coached. He always could coach. He got a bad deal with Chicago. And he's demonstrated once again that he knows what he's doing. And he's got another championship in Canada. And he and Steve Walsh and Mike Archer, 2 old University of Miami guys who are on his staff, are celebrating today another championship.
The Mark Trestman can coach, but he got into the wrong situation when he came to the NFL a couple of years ago. Didn't work out. That they throw coaches and quarterbacks and everybody else under the bus, but it's not always as far as the Schiano thing is. That's really a shame, because he's really guilty by association there. His ties with Penn State and all that. But, that's mob rule. And, I don't know. There might be some lawsuits coming out of that because that's... I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. But there could be some legal ramifications there. Schiano might have a claim that what Tennessee did might really damage his reputation and career, and there could be some damages. But I'm not a lawyer. It just looks that way. As far as the NFL is concerned, for yesterday, I know you had a good day, but it continues that these favorites are running about close to 70% the last 3 or 4 weeks, and the books, the bookmakers, the sports books are getting absolutely killed. The public is winning for fun. We have the haves and the have-nots. We got a few teams that are really, really good, and we don't really have any kind of middle teams. They're either really bad or they're really good. And
well, I had a few dogs yesterday. I think I told you on Friday that I liked Arizona's chances against Jacksonville because Gabbert has not been playing that bad, and he had another good, decent day yesterday against a very good Jacksonville defense. And Jacksonville is, another week on the road, and they had a struggle. And there was one game that cost me a perfect day yesterday, and that was another dog that I had taken, and that was Indianapolis, who had a chance to beat Tennessee. And that's going to be an interesting race to the wire between those two teams because Tennessee's got a very easy schedule the rest of the way. And I think Tennessee's going to wind up winning that division because you got the quarterback for Jacksonville he's bad. He just is. Although he scored 2 touchdowns running the football. It's better when he's running than he is when he's throwing a ball.
Yeah, he's got... they say he has terrible flaws in his delivery and everything. Tennessee probably will.
But Fournette is not healthy, and that doesn't help them. So,
of course.
And the thing that surprises a lot of people. I work with a guy from Jacksonville, and the thing that surprised him was that they gave up 27 points in the game, and they had no answer. They couldn't stop. They couldn't stop Gabbert when it was time to stop him, and he took the team right down the field, kicked the winning field goal at the end. Great game.
Yeah, it was an exciting game. So was the Sunday night game, Green Bay and Pittsburgh. That was another one of those games. That was another Tomlin game where he's concerned. He's talking more about the Patriot game a couple weeks down the road, and not even focused on this game. And Packers almost stole that one from him.
Yep, there is a quarterback who the week before was shut out, and against the Pittsburgh defense, he had a heck of a game. And watching Minnesota on Thursday against Detroit, the Detroit defense, they turned that quarterback into Joe Montana. That Detroit defense is not good. They can't beat winning teams. They got an interesting game this week. I'll be curious to see if Detroit can bounce back. I kind of like their chances this week. I think they're getting points on the road.
You're getting a few.
But, yeah.
Yeah. There were some interesting games. We have some teams that absolutely look like they're ready to quit or have quit. I mean, Oakland was up 21-0 and gave up 2 late scores.
Well, that was interesting too because what happened was that the change of quarterbacks for Denver wasn't working out at all, and then he got hurt, and they went to Simeon, who came in and put up a couple of late scores against Oakland's defense. And meanwhile, Oakland had quit offensively in the game. But Oakland won the game, and now they're at 5-6, and the Chargers are 5-6, and Kansas City is 6-5, and Kansas City looked awful again, losing to Buffalo. And I had Buffalo in that game. And Buffalo went out there, and Tyrod had a decent game against Kansas City's defense. But Kansas City's offense can't do a thing. Their running back, who was so good early, has been stifled. And the reason he's been stifled is because they just decided that Smith can't beat him. And so defenses are just playing up and stopping their running game. And Alex Smith has been horrible. And they have no offense right now. And it looks like, Andy Reid has no answers. I saw his post-game press conference, and he didn't know what to say.
He has to be totally frustrated. I mean, they were the champions of September, 5-0 start. Everybody was saying this looks like the best team in football, and now they've lost 5 out of their last 6, and they look like they have no clue. So this division, which is very critical here because this is a playoff spot we're talking about. Whoever wins this division is going to get that spot, and it looks to me like the Chargers and the Raiders are, well, they're going head-to-head, but to me, the Chargers have the better team. I think they have the better defensive talent. The quarterback is very, very talented, been around a long time. I'm looking at the Chargers as the team to beat in this division right now.
Yep. Well, they find a way to lose games somehow as it goes along. But right now they're playing very well. Excuse me. And the big reason is their defense. Their defense is really playing great. And they're the best defense in the division.
Yeah, they are. And, well, the Denver defense looks like they quit. They're not getting enough support from the offense, so they did quit. But
I'll tell you why. Because their best defensive coach is now coaching the Rams.
Right.
They do a good job against the Saints yesterday. And Wade Phillips is coaching their defense. And they hired the wrong guy in Denver. Vance Joseph can't coach worth a darn. And every week it's more obvious.
Now, I go one step higher there, and I agree with you about Joseph, but I'm really disappointed in John Elway and the way he's put this team together. They had that Super Bowl run a couple years ago, and since then the decisions at quarterback, etc., I think have been very poor, and it goes right back to him. One of the biggest money burners in football has been the Cleveland Browns, and for some reason every week the sharps out here in Las Vegas seem to keep betting on them, and they've been not covering at about a 70% clip, and they find a way, even if they're in the game, they find a way not to cover their games. I mean, 0-11, they'll probably very likely go 0-16, and they're in a race right now for the number 1 draft pick, and I don't know how a team could be this bad, but they are.
And I keep hearing these commentators talking about what a good coach Hugh Jackson is. Huh? Not winning doesn't reflect good coaching. I'll tell you something else, too, and that is, there's a lot of bad coaching going on right now. Tonight, we're going to see the Ravens against Houston, and Houston's coach has not done a very good job either. And all of a sudden, the Ravens look like they're in contention to make it as a wild card. I think that's going to be an interesting game.
It very likely will be. The Texans coach, they call him Captain Hook, by the way, he keeps pulling his quarterbacks. But, even though I respect the Ravens and their coaching staff, and Joe Flacco's had, some good games over the years, and of course the Super Bowl win. I'm not that excited about their offensive potential. They just are very mediocre on the offensive end. It's hard to really get excited about laying points with an offense. It's that deliberate, that conservative. Now, granted,
that's Marty Morningwig, another guy who somehow keeps getting jobs. And they last year, after about 4 or 5 games, they threw Mark Trestman under the bus, who was their offensive coach, and Trestman landed on his feet in Toronto, and he's very happy right now. So, but this is a coach who's great at keeps blaming other people, and if they don't make the playoffs this year, he might have to face he may have to, talking about Captain Hook, he may have to walk the plank himself.
I totally agree. Although they don't have they don't really have the talent on that offensive side of the ball to really expect much from them. It's they've always been conservative.
Well, fantasy players are going to have a good time with their wide receiver there. He's a big play guy, and he's been playing well right now. When you say they don't have talent on the offensive side of the ball, you can go right to Flacco, who hasn't had a good year since he won the Super Bowl.
Yep, and that was just basically one end of the year run where he just did everything right for the last 4 or 5 games, and it was quite amazing. The one team that's not the Atlanta Falcons appear to have gotten some of their swagger back, and they put up 34 against a very bad Tampa Bay team, of course, but they seem to be clicking a little bit better, and that division right now is coming down to 3 teams with the Panthers and the Saints. The Falcons, Panthers, and Saints are really in contention to win that division.
You left out Carolina, who
that's
a scrappy Jets team yesterday.
That would be the Panthers.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. The Panthers have a big game this week against the Saints, and I'm not sure the Saints weren't looking ahead to that game last week when they went out west and and came up a little flat against the Rams. Meanwhile, Carolina, the Jets gave them a game for a while, but Carolina came through. And Cam didn't have one of his better games against the Jets. And then Olsen got hurt, and he's gone again. He just can't stay healthy, and they'll miss him. That's a big injury for Carolina.
Oh, it sure is. It's one of the amazing coaching turnarounds in football that people aren't talking about very much. But the coaching change with the LA Rams from Jeff Fisher to McVay has been absolutely remarkable in terms of results. This team is really, really good. And basically the same players that Jeff Fisher had, who somehow kept his job for 10 years without having a winning record. But right now, this LA Ram team looks real. I know they might have caught the Saints in a flat spot, but they're playing well.
I got into a big argument yesterday with one of my coworkers at CBS because I said that the coach of the Dolphins may be the worst coach they've had here since Cam Cameron, and that my best bet of the day yesterday was to take New England, giving 8.5 points in the first half because the Dolphins' offense averages 4 points a game in the first half, which tells me that they're totally unprepared every week when they take the field. They're not ready, ever. And this coach here is in charge of the offense, and he's calling the plays. They can't do anything. And actually, New England covered a 17-point spread by 1 point, but the only score that the Dolphins had in the first half was when Brady was looking the other way when the center snapped the ball, and the Dolphins recovered it on the 2-yard line. Otherwise, they would have been shut out in the first half again. And they're never prepared, and they're really in this chaos here with this team, and they're going. Last year they made the playoffs, but they got lucky in about 4 of those wins out of the 10 that they had. And so they got excited about this team. But they came back this year, and they've been horrible. Unprepared, all kinds of difficulties. You had an offensive line coach who's a pervert and lost his job. You had a linebacker who was got in a scuffle at a nightclub, and he got sent away. You had your best running back, who apparently had an attitude problem, didn't get along with guys, and so they let him go. The tackle who they drafted a year ago, offensive tackle, has been a bust, not playing up to his capabilities. And, you know, guys just aren't playing this. And Sue, all he did yesterday was hit Brady late a couple of times and make him sore today. And Sue has played terrible. And you got Kiki Alonso, who should pay to have to watch running backs run by him in games.
Yeah, it's been a mess. The Miami Dolphins are now known as the Cleveland Browns of the South. And
yeah,
and it, you know, you didn't mention it, but one of the other terrible moves that they made in the offseason was paying $10 million to Jay Cutler. And that money could have gone.
This guy's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer. Maybe he should raise his voice a little more.
Well, I think that's a mess, and a lot of changes need to be had down there. What do you have going this week? Anything special? I know we have championship weekend coming up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too.
It's going to be some great games. I think the Auburn-Georgia game is going to be a great game. I don't know what's going to happen with the Big Ten championship game. You know, nobody talks about Wisconsin. All they do is keep winning. I'm kind of rooting for Wisconsin. I'd like to see them get into the championship. They've earned it. You know, and they say, well, they haven't played anybody. Well, they're in a major conference and they keep winning.
You can only play who they schedule you to play. You can't make up your own schedule.
Yeah.
So
and now everybody is saying, well, Alabama played an easy schedule. The Southeast Conference wasn't that good this year. I'll tell you, the best team is Oklahoma. They're fun to watch.
They are fun to watch. I'm not taking any with anybody. All these teams on any given day. Oklahoma does look very exciting, though. I agree with you. Hank's plays and mine. Hank had a big weekend. I did really well myself. We're all available right now at jimfeist.com. And Hank and I will be back here on Wednesday with another podcast. And thank you.
I'll tell you something. On Friday, I gave out 9 college basketball games, and we hit 8 of them. That ain't bad.
Hank, why'd you lose one? I don't understand. Why'd you do that?
Yeah. We're all entitled to one mistake.
Congratulations, Hank, on another good week. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.